It's been one of those weeks here in Georgia in regards to the Georgia Election Interference trial. We've got some updates we're going to run past you, let you know what's going on here in the Peach State. Well, early on, the focus seems to be what happened in Coffee County with the plea deals that were offered and accepted by Scott Hall first back on September 29th. Then we had Miss Powell, Trump attorney, who accepted a plea deal on the 19th, followed by Ken Chesbrough on the 20th. Then we had Jenna Ellis, who accepted a plea deal on the 24th, I believe. With that said, you had three lawyers and a bailiff, or bondsman, actually. That's what Mr. Hall was. All associated with the Trump campaign, all dealing with the actual election machine tampering in Coffee County. The one person who is also in the news this week is coming from that same incident. This has nothing to do with the Fulton County allegations that the Trump organization was initially leaning towards, or saying that there was a problem with. Nah, this has something to do with what they were doing those machines. And the news coming out of Fulton County this week centered around those very same plea deals that were offered. There was actually something called a proffer. Proffers are basically videotape recordings of what these defendants are agreeing to. Those were leaked. And we have a recording of what happened in closed courtroom with Judge McAfee asking pertinent questions as to why an emergency order was going to have to be issued. And here's what the attorney for one of the other defendants who was centered around the Coffee County incident had to say. Pick it up at probably about the 15-minute mark of the video that was released to the public.
Okay, Mr. Miller, on behalf of, Ms. Hampton.
Judge, if I may, Ms. Hampton does not believe that an order is necessary. That this is one of the biggest cases the country has had, and that transparency is very important. Since I've been working with her for the last 2 years, she has always said that she wanted to be 100% transparent. And that is why we are opposed to having any kind of regulations on what we can expose and what we can't. But with that in mind, we will adhere to any court order that the court does, and we'll do so with diligence. But Judge, in being transparent with the court and to make sure that nobody else gets blamed for what happened, and so that I can go to sleep well tonight, Judge, I did release those videos to one outlet, and on all candor to the court, I need the court to know that.
Well, I appreciate that, candor, Mr. Miller. Is there anything else, though, you'd want to add in terms of, I suppose I would lodge it as an objection to the protective order, but not a vigorous one, I suppose. Is there anything else you'd want to add, though, your thinking behind why you felt these proffers needed to be part of the public record? Because it feels like that should be part of the analysis that I had to do of justifying a protective order.
Okay, if the court will entertain me, Judge, all four of those people that did their proffers, they stood in front of you, they did their plea, it was all recorded, it was sent out there for the world to see. And to put those proffers, hide those proffers that show all the underlying things that went into those pleas, it misleads the public about what's going on. I don't believe that two of those defendants were directly related to my client. And I don't believe that either one of those hurt my client. If anything, I believe they helped my client. And the public needs to know that. So please keep that in consideration in any order that you do.
And Mr. Miller, how would your ability to eventually get that in front of the public at a trial be foreclosed by a protective order saying this shouldn't come out until it's determined to be admissible, and it should come out at the trial.
Judge, the problem with that is that this is a very, very public trial. We all know that. How many newspaper organizations are out there right now looking at it? That allows the DA's office to set the tone for the entire trial without giving consideration to the other side of the coin. And that's what needs protecting, Judge. And the public has a right to know.
Well, it's a good slogan, but do we have any case law that says pretrial discovery is a part of our First Amendment concerns? I know Mr. Clyde is sitting there just waiting to be teed up here on behalf of the media organizations. But it seems like having open files for everyone to start litigating the case before we actually get inside of a courtroom comes with a lot of side effects that I don't know if we've thought through.
Judge, I cannot argue with that logic.
Now, with that particular serving of word salad, we had basically one argument that the judge was making. What is it hurting by keeping the details of this proffer under wraps? Your defense, you are the defense, you have access to it. Why are you sharing this to the public? And to that, after a long pause, Mr. Miller gave a response, and the pause came from Judge McAfee. He's like, well, that's a good slogan. In other words, that's nice of you to say, but really it has nothing to do with why you released this information. Now, I find it interesting that Attorney Miller did want to go ahead and fess up that he was the one who leaked this information out, for the simple fact that had already been talk who leaked it. There was going to be some kind of guessing game as to who leaked it, but it was leaning towards another attorney for another defendant who's in the news today. And that one would be Mr. Harrison Floyd. Now, there was some grumblings in the legal circles on some of the news outlets out here, seemed to point in the finger at Mr. Floyd's attorney, but it had nothing to do with Mr. Floyd. Unfortunately for Mr. Floyd, he's got his own issues to contend with, namely the fact that attorney or DA Willis is going to revoke his bond for some of the actions he's been taking since he's been out. Now, mind you, Harrison Floyd had been in jail for 2 weeks when everybody else who was indicted made their appearance, showed up, got their fingerprints, got their mug shot, including Donald Trump. But Mr. Floyd was stuck down there at Rice Street. And we did a story on Rice Street and how bad it is down there. If this man's bond gets revoked, he's going to be there. He is going to be there until the trial is over. That's not a good look, seeing as how the trial is not slated to start possibly 2025 earliest, after the election cycle. That's what they're shooting for. This is what's coming from the DA side. You're talking about a year in jail because you're messing around making posts about the very same people you are accused of harming, with your antics, or this particular set of charges centers around what happened to Miss Friedman. This will be Friedman and her daughter, Shay. So with that said, it's not looking good for Mr. Floyd. If the judge does in fact find that you violated the terms of your bond, Rice Street is not a nice way to spend Christmas, let me tell you.